The moment froze like a held breath in winter, the kind that stings your lungs and makes your eyes water before you even realize you're hurting. A small boy stood at the edge of a polished marble lobby, shoes too thin for the season, hands trembling around a paper bag that smelled faintly of warm bread. His eyes were not pleading in the loud, desperate way people expect from poverty. They were steady, terrified, and brave all at once, fixed on a man in a tailored coat whose life had been built on numbers, deadlines, and decisions that never required looking down. In that silent collision of two worlds, something ancient cracked open, and the future quietly changed direction. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the idea that a single moment can alter many lives, take a second right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that may be waiting to heal. The man was Ethan Hale, a single father and the CEO of one of the fastest growing food logistics companies in the city, a business that moved millions of meals a day while he often forgot to eat one himself. His mornings began before sunrise, with emails stacking like bricks and a calendar that looked more like a battlefield than a plan. Since his wife's passing years earlier, grief had sharpened him into something efficient and distant, a man who survived by staying busy enough to avoid feeling the ache of absence. His daughter, Lily, lived in a boarding school across town, not because he wanted distance, but because he believed structure and opportunity would protect her from the chaos he felt inside. He told himself he was providing, even as he missed birthdays, school plays, and the quiet moments that make a family feel like a home. That morning, Ethan's company had announced a new contract that would expand operations into underserved neighborhoods, a press release filled with words like sustainability and impact. Cameras flashed, executives shook hands, and the lobby buzzed with the clean confidence of success. Security was tight, as it always was, because food meant money, and money attracted problems. It was in this atmosphere of polished certainty that the boy appeared, as if he had slipped through a crack in the world. He was small for his age, jacket too large, eyes older than they should have been. He held that paper bag like it was the last fragile thing holding his life together. The boy's presence disrupted the flow of the morning. Staff noticed first, glancing with concern, then with irritation. Security moved closer, ready to escort him out before he could cause a scene. Ethan noticed last, because he had trained himself not to see what slowed him down. But when he did look, something tugged at him with the force of memory. It wasn't the poverty, it was the way the boy stood between the guards and the bag, shoulders squared, jaw set, as if he had already learned that the world would take from him unless he refused. The bag, it turned out, held food collected from a nearby bakery's end-of-day shelf, items that were perfectly good but deemed unsellable by morning standards. The boy had been helping his mother since she became ill, navigating the city's narrow margins with the precision of a grown man. He had learned which shops were kind, which dumpsters were safe, which days were better than others. He had learned that illness doesn't pause hunger, and that dignity is something you have to defend when you have nothing else. Ethan's initial instinct was procedural. There were policies, liability concerns, optics. He could delegate the situation, return to his meeting, let the system handle it. That's what leaders did, he told himself. But systems are built by people, and people are shaped by moments they can't forget. As security reached the boy, Ethan caught the faint scent of bread again, and with it came a memory of his own childhood kitchen, his mother's hands flour-dusted and warm, his father laughing at something unimportant. That life had taught him that food was more than fuel, it was care, it was safety, it was love. The boy's explanation came out not as a speech but as a simple truth carried on shaking breath, a request not to take the food because his mother was sick. It wasn't a strategy or a performance. It was the kind of honesty that leaves no room for negotiation. The lobby seemed to lean in, as if the walls themselves were listening. Ethan felt something shift inside him, a quiet alarm that said this mattered more than the meeting upstairs. He waved off security with a small gesture that surprised even him. He asked for water, then for a chair, then for time. In those few minutes, the world slowed enough for Ethan to see the boy as more than a problem to solve. He saw a child who had stepped into responsibility too early, whose courage was stitched together with fear. He saw the cost of illness not measured in hospital bills alone, but in the way it steals childhoods and rearranges families. As details emerged, the picture grew heavier. The mother had been diagnosed with a chronic condition that required medication they could barely afford. She worked when she could, rested when she had to, and depended on her son in ways no parent ever wants to. Their apartment was small, the rent unforgiving, the support system thin. The boy's school attendance had become irregular, not because he didn't care, but because care had become his job. Ethan felt the familiar urge to fix things quickly, to write a check and move on. Money was his language, it solved problems efficiently. But he hesitated, sensing that this moment demanded something different. He remembered Lily's face when he missed another parent-teacher conference, the way she smiled politely while learning to expect less. He wondered what kind of example he was setting, not with his success but with his absence. He made a choice that surprised everyone, including himself. He postponed his meeting. He asked his assistant to arrange transportation to the clinic the boy's mother attended. He asked questions, not to interrogate, but to understand. And in understanding, he found himself changed. The drive through the city revealed neighborhoods he supplied but never visited, streets where his trucks passed daily without stopping. He saw how thin the line was between stability and collapse, how one illness could unravel a life. At the clinic, the mother's gratitude was quiet and heavy, the kind that sits in the chest and makes breathing careful. She did not ask for much, only time and the chance to get better. Ethan realized how rare it was for people to ask simply for dignity. He arranged for consistent food deliveries through his company, not as charity but as partnership, ensuring they had what they needed without the humiliation of handouts. He connected the family with a social worker, explored healthcare options, and set up a scholarship fund for the boy's education, believing that opportunity should be proactive, not reactive. The changes did not come without resistance. Board members questioned the optics, the precedent, the distraction. Ethan listened, then spoke about responsibility, about the purpose of a company that feeds millions yet ignores hunger at its doorstep. He reframed success not as expansion alone, but as impact measured in lives steadied and futures preserved. Slowly, policies shifted. Food that once went to waste was redirected. Community partnerships formed. What began as one boy and a paper bag grew into a program that transformed how the company saw its role in the city. At home, Ethan felt the change most deeply. He began visiting Lily more often, attending her events, learning to sit still in the discomfort of presence. He talked to her about the boy, about his mother, about the choices that shape who we become. Lily listened with the earnest attention of a child who wants to believe the world can be better, and in her eyes, Ethan saw forgiveness he hadn't known he needed. Months passed, and the boy's life slowly expanded beyond survival. School became regular again. His mother's health stabilized with consistent care. Laughter returned to their small apartment, tentative at first, then freer. The paper bag was replaced by grocery deliveries that arrived without fanfare. Pride remained intact because the help was structured, respectful, and reliable. For Ethan, the lesson lingered in the quiet moments. He learned that leadership is not proven in boardrooms alone, but in lobbies where fear meets power. He learned that listening can be more transformative than giving, and that seeing is an act of courage. The city continued to move at its relentless pace, but for a few people, it moved differently now, kinder, more deliberate. As this story draws close to its end, take a moment to reflect. If this journey moved you, if it reminded you of the power one decision can hold, please pause and leave a comment below sharing what kindness means to you or how a small act once changed your life. Your words may become someone else's turning point. In the final scene, there is no dramatic applause, no grand ceremony. There is simply a boy walking to school with a lighter step, a mother resting without fear of the next meal, and a man who learned that success rings hollow unless it echoes with humanity. The marble lobby still gleams, the meetings still happen, but somewhere beneath the noise of progress, a quieter story continues, one where compassion interrupted routine and rewrote a future. If this story touched your heart, if it stirred something hopeful or reminded you that empathy still has a place in our busy world, please like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe for more stories that celebrate the best of what we can be. Your engagement helps keep these stories alive, reaching hearts that might be waiting for a reason to believe.